This is Binod Shankar and you're listening to the Real Finance Mentor podcast from therealfinancementor.com. The Real Finance Mentor is your go-to resource for insight and inspiration on careers in finance, CFA and more. I would think, why this podcast? Well, my goal is to deliver insight and inspiration for your finance career by making it, one, relatable. This is not theoretical stuff. We zero in on the critical, practical issues. Number two, authentic. No bullshit, no sidestepping. The topics, guests, and questions are all from that perspective. And number three, take a chartered accountant and CFA charter holder, add 17 plus years as a corporate warrior, mix in 10 years of entrepreneurship, throw in a decade of full-time CFA training, add speaking, mentoring, cycling, and mountaineering, and that's me. Welcome to the Real Finance Mentor, or as I call it, RFM. Hi guys, this is Binod Shankar here, podcast host of the Real Finance Mentor podcast, the podcast that brings you insight and inspiration for your finance careers. Now, today we're going to have the 31st episode. Yeah, I know, time flies, right? 30 episodes so far. And we're not going to have a guest on the show. And I think, oh my God, is he going to talk again? Thankfully, I'll make it brief at the beginning. So instead of me talking or one guest talking, you're going to have many of them. Because what I've done, I realized that for the last so many episodes, I used to ask towards the end my guest to mention the 3 top career tips that he personally believed in for youngsters either about to enter or already in early career, right? And I found that it's a fascinating collection of very inspirational, very insightful, detailed tips. Some of them were more than 3 tips. So today's episode, number 31, is going to be about top career tips from my brilliant guests. There will be a transcript of the entire career tips just below the video. So please go through that as well if you wish. And I hope you learn a lot from what my guest had to say. Onwards and upwards.
Yes, I guess there would be a lot of advice that one could give. But based on my experience, I feel the one most important point for me was to get a mentor. And if you are able to get that mentor early in your field, that is going to play a very important role. Because mentors are those people who give you an unbiased view of different decisions that you are going to make in your career. So they give you that view and they can help you identify your weaknesses and strengths, which is very important. You can't just get into a field just because you think you want to. You need to know about what challenges you are going to face and all. I think that's why it's important for you to have that mentor. And I would suggest not to just ask a manager to become your mentor. I would rather suggest someone who can give you an unbiased opinion. It can be any other colleague of yours who may be working in a different field, in a different team. But yeah, it's better that you get that mentor early on in your career. The second point would be, I think I've already talked about that in the podcast. It's networking early. You will come to know about what's actually going on in the industry. And not only that, it also opens you to a lot of opportunities which are going to be there. In my case, those were essentially investment conferences, volunteering at CFA Society, the kind of exposure that it gives you. Again, it's not, you don't have to think that you will do that only because you want to make a job switch. It's just about making that connections because you have no idea how you're going to meet other people, right? You know, that's how I met you, for example. We didn't know that we would meet each other. So I think that's the power of networking. You can meet so many people who will be relevant to your industry. So it plays a very important role. And I think third one is being humble and having a continued learning approach. Great minds who I have come across, they always have these 2 traits. And things change so fast in the industry. So you need to be acquainted with these skills and stay updated. You know, when I look at people like you and so many different folks who are head at their companies or directors at the levels and all, I think when I look at them, I always have that sense of respect for them, and I'm always impressed because they have that kind of knowledge, not only in their field, they will also have knowledge in what's actually going on. Yeah, I mean, outside. So I think these would be the three key pieces of advice that I could give. But yeah, again, it's I'm still in the early phase. Maybe there will be a few more to come, but it's more try to have those experience over the period.
And you know how I like to start many answers with a caveat. So this one is that I'm always aware of the survivor bias with these kind of things. Just because some things work for me doesn't mean that it's amazing advice and everybody should do it. I often think that when you see the kind of TED talks where somebody will be saying that they did something, therefore it's brilliant and everyone should do it. There's a meme somewhere I saw where there's a guy with loads of money. It's about the survivor bias, and he's showing how he said, I spent every penny I had on lottery tickets. People told me I was silly, but I carried on, and look where I am now. Eventually I won. Because that one did, but there's lots without a TED Talk stage that didn't. But really? Anyway, you did ask me a very simple question. So let's do 1, 2, 3. Number 1 would be not to set rigid goals. I mentioned about goal adjustment. I think sometimes when you're young, it's easy to set out this, here's what I want to achieve. And you've got this timeline, you've got this focus, and there's an awful lot to be said for that. But focus on that means that you might miss other opportunities as well. And I think there's a real travesty sometimes when people do that. Secondly, I would say do stuff that you're good at, because it's really rewarding to feel that you're doing something well. So if you can find something you're good at, know that you're good at it and keep doing that, because it will get its rewards one way or the other. And finally, I would disassociate career with life satisfaction. It's one factor. There are many factors to life satisfaction. You don't work forever. You'll spend a period of your time where you'll retire and enjoy life in retirement. And to go back to my deathbed scenario, nobody lies on their deathbed, wishing they'd spent all their time in work. Know that there are friends and families and hobbies and ambitions that are not career related. All of these things are the things that bring about life satisfaction. So don't ever place your happiness as contingent upon just one thing.
I've kind of hovered over a couple of them during what I'm saying, but I'm going to kind of specify them. There are 3 points that I would like to cover. The first one is always ask yourself, what if they don't? The second one is it always happens for a good reason. And the third one, do not fear the unknown. Mm-hmm. So let's elaborate a little bit. So the first one about asking yourself, what if they don't? So again, I spoke about the fear of rejection. So I noticed that most fear rejection as an idea, and that's valid. But instead of setting up yourself for that, convince yourself that there's a positive possibility to every situation. So instead of asking yourself, what if they say no? Ask yourself, what if they say yes? It's all a matter of perspective. So that's number 1. Number 2, it always happens for a good reason. So I was taught that if Allah allowed us to see what He has in store for us in the future, we would drop to the floor thanking Him and never get up. Which means what? Everything that happens to us in the now is either preparing us for a brighter future or eliminating what we think is good for us to allow something even better into our lives. Which brings me to a story of mine. At one of my jobs, I was promised a promotion. I found out that my name was shortlisted and it was just a matter of time for me to get it. I was absolutely devastated that I knew because I knew I deserved that promotion and I worked so hard for it, that I was taken out of it. And I said, you know what, there must be something better coming soon. It, I mean, I know that I was hoping for it, but whatever. My name was taken out. It's not a big deal. Something must be better. And truth be told, less than 6 months, I got a job somewhere else that was 3 grades higher than what I had, 3 times the salary that I had, and needed me to join immediately. So please note, if I got that promotion, my notice period would have been 3 months. And because I didn't get that promotion, my notice period was only 1 month. So and based because of my vacation accumulated, I could have reduced it to only 2 weeks. So if I got promoted, the opportunity of a lifetime would have gone away. So yes, it may seem like it is the end of the world at that moment, but remind yourself it is always for a good reason. Then finally, we are always afraid of things that we don't know. So the fear of the unknown. Cold feet before getting married, picking a new home, traveling to a new country, it is a completely normal reaction. But never fear it to the limit that you run away. Stand your ground, challenge yourself. And if you don't know how to proceed, surprise, ask. Don't hold yourself responsible for the information that you do not have. Empower yourself with the knowledge and the experience to move forward. So there's nothing scary. There's nothing scaring about not knowing something. Admit it to yourself. Allow yourself to understand that, and ask, 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 ask.
So, given your experience, can you list your top 5 networking tips for youngsters who are
Yeah,
ambitious and smart, but a bit naive about how to proceed?
sure, absolutely. So I think the first step is that before you start networking, you should only pick 1 or 2 jobs, maximum of 2 jobs that you want to pursue, and not more than that, because when you narrow down the scope, it makes it much easier for you to network and easier to prepare. If you're choosing like 5 different fields, you got to learn 5 different subjects, and that's not the best way to use your time and resources. So that's one, like narrow down on the jobs like that you really like and have it ranked like number one, ranking 1 and 2, like that's how you start. And then second, I would say is that you should never be afraid to reach out to people and connect, however senior or junior they are. This is the only way you will actually get yourself out there and be marketable and presentable in front of people. They will not know who you are till you actually reach out to them, right? Third is basically, I would say, know your audience, right? If you are speaking to someone who's working in, let's say, risk management, right? And if you ask them about a job in asset management, that would be a waste of their time and your time, right? As he basically would feel that you have not done your homework to understand where he works. And two is that he actually might be limited in that capacity to help you out because he's in a different field and you're asking help from him to go in a completely different field. So that's very limiting. Next is basically, I would say, like, never ask for a job, rather be genuine in connecting with the person to learn more about the field he is in, what he is doing, and forming a meaningful relationship. Yes, down the line, if things work up and you've shown interest and made a strong impression, they'll definitely keep you in mind, and that's how you pop up. And basically, if you form a really good relationship, I would remember, oh yeah, this person reached out to me. I think he might actually be good for a role. Let me just ring him up and see if he's still interested or available for this position, right? The next thing I would say is, like, networking is like not like a one-time exercise when you just reach out to people, connect with them once, and expect miracles to happen or take place. It's a networking is more like a long-term investing. Like, you actually have to invest in this process. It's a very long-term process where you keep in touch with people. Like, just it could be anything, right? Just being in front of them, and over time it'll actually reap benefits. And like, last but not least, like, is that when you are speaking to someone senior, make sure you have your story padded down as to why you want to do this, what makes you a good candidate, and always have some interesting questions and not some generic questions that you can find answers to online. Because like, the first question they'll ask you is like, okay, why do you want to do this? And if you fumble or don't have a right answer, I would just be like, okay, this is just someone regular who is just looking for any job, and he's really not interested in this one, and he's just reaching out generally. So and I think so that's something that's very important to like know your story and why you want to do this. And also like, you're trying to learn as much as possible about the field when you go out there and network. So you have to like, and the best way to do it is basically asking questions which also shows curiosity to the person who you're talking to, right? And that kind of makes them think, okay, this guy's actually interested in this.
Right. Now you've been in investment banking, Hanatosh, for nearly 1.5 years. And have been involved, looking at your resume, in quite a few big deals, including leveraged buyouts, acquisitions, debt financing, right? So I've got a few questions for you. Firstly, because a lot of youngsters see investment as a very sexy field, investment banking, and they all say they want to get a break into IB, but most of them have no clue of skill set IB demands. So what are the top 3 skills, i.e. aptitude, that you must have to succeed?
Okay, so I think the most important skills, right, is technical skills. Like you can say like accounting, valuation, those are very important. That's your daily bread and butter. And that's the bare minimum requirement. That's not even a requirement for you to get selected. Like it's like a tick mark. Like, okay, he has it like every other candidate. Like every other candidate who's interviewing will know his technical skills. So that's the first place to start with. But that's not the only thing, right? Second thing, what is like an aptitude wise, like I would say like, taking initiative, like if something work comes along, like you should be able to like be the first person to like raise your hand, say that you would do it. But you should kind of always have to be careful when you say yes, because if you try pleasing everyone or saying yes to everything, you're essentially setting yourself up to failure, as there are only 24 hours in a day, and those deadlines are rarely shipped, right? Third thing I would suggest is like, attention to detail, because sometimes like the devil is in the details. Like you might not pay attention to it, but like at the end that could actually make it a break or a like win or lose situation for you. Third, I think, or like the fourth thing I would say would be like, problem solving and critical thinking is something that's very important. Quite a few times you'll be given work and you'll be expecting that, you would be taking out on this work from someone else and helping them out, making them relieving them of this duty, and like helping them think of bigger picture stuff. So in this case, of course, they'll guide you and help you, but most times people are busy in other things and you might not get constant attention. So for you to actually able to like, solve the problem given to you or think critically, that's very important. And that kind of shows that if you can do that, okay, we are giving him some responsibility, he's able to do that, let's move forward and give him a higher responsibility. I think that's what they say, right? Like in banking, like before we help you merge two companies, show me complete this simple task before you actually end up doing something very heavy. So gaining the trust is very important of a person.
Right. So that was top three aptitude or skills that you need, right?
Correct.
What are the top 3 attitude in terms of your approach to work that you must have in IB to succeed?
So I think like something that's very important is like, your soft skills, like your personality, how you speak, how you connect with people, how you present your work is very important. At the end of it, like any job that you do requires some sort of like personal connection. And if you're an easy person to work with, that's much better for you and everyone compared to not being an easy person to work with. 2 would be like, you should always ask questions, like show that you're eager to learn. Like if you don't understand anything, sure, take out the first 10-15 minutes to understand it or do it by yourself. But if you don't, always ask questions as to why is this happening? Can you show me how it's done, or anything that you don't understand? It just shows that you're eager to learn, right? And third thing I would say is like when you actually join, you may not know anything or everything at all, and that is okay as long as you're willing to put the effort and learn. That's something that's most important. And then the fourth thing I would say is like humility and being humble, right? Like showing excitement in your job, not being arrogant, like being responsive to people when they email you right away. At least telling them, hey, like, look, I got this, I saw your email, I'll get back to this later on in the day or whenever you get time. That at least that way people know you have read their email and they're not consistently worried that have you got my email or not, right? So yeah, so essentially like as a beginner, like you don't bring a lot to the table, but you're expected to bring excitement and eagerness to learn. And I think if you have these qualities, I think you're definitely, set up for success. And I think the last but not the least, and I think is having a great work ethic, always showing up on time, like, meeting your deadlines, always extending a helping hand to the team. I think that goes a long way. So yeah.
I'm really touched that you are asking me for advice, and let me try and give you something different, some tips which are slightly different from what you've probably heard. So my first one would be show off what you know, but acknowledge what you don't know. This comes from what I spoke earlier, saying you must say what you don't know because no one's a mind reader. They're not going to know your limitations. So only show off what you know. And what you don't, go out there and ask for help. There's nothing wrong in asking for help for what you don't know. My second piece of advice would be there early. Be there early, get into the office early, and work in the early morning hours. Don't stay too late. Don't do that late night culture. Don't do that FaceTime culture. It's much, much better in the long term. And you have more perspective. You're fresher and your attention to detail is much better. And my third one would be it won't always be easy. It's not going to be easy, but hang in there. People will only have as much confidence in you as you have in yourself. So always have confidence in yourself because it's not going to be easy. I've not had an easy road, but I hung in there. And if you hang in there, you'll definitely make it.
So my first point that I'm going to talk about, that had an indirect impact on my career, right? So I would start with surrounding yourself with right circle of people. Okay, this is important. Who you spend time with the most has a strong indirect influence on who you become as a person. Don't fall into fake social media trap to get external validation. Don't be scared to cut off and eliminate because of massive groupism issue here, Binod. Um, people, what they try to do is they try to change themselves to fit in. And then what happens is they develop insecurities and they're just worried about what people think of them. And that leads to several mental blocks. It leads to self-awareness issues. It leads to low, you have low self-esteem and anxiety issues. The reason I'm emphasizing on this is because I was once upon a time a victim of this. And honestly, Binod, I have seen many intelligent friends of mine lose focus because they were unable to cut off and move on. On the other hand, I saw a change in my personality as I surrounded myself with right people who I share common interests with. In fact, I got really lucky, right? Because all of them had way more life skills and career exposure than me. I would call them my dynamic circle of advisors. These guys have throughout my career inspired me to take up different possibilities and different risks, all the way from leaving a well-paid investment banking role to joining a pure sales role at Brick Investments and then leaving Brick and then going all out on networking and upskilling. My decision and my decision making and my planning skills over time have actually got better as a result of surrounding myself with right people. So the first one is definitely surround yourself with the right circle of friends. Secondly, I would say network early and seek out for education beyond classrooms. So what I mean by this is I wasted a lot of time in university trying to fit in, made incorrect choices, got really lazy, and as a result, just became a follower. I would opt for courses because everyone was doing it. And boy, did I waste a lot of time and money. Whenever any undergrad tells me, I'm doing CFA, ACCA, MBA because everyone in my circle is doing it and that's what the market wants, I would tell him to stop because he's making a big mistake. Solution? Network early. reach out to analysts, reach out to managers, reach out to your seniors to understand and learn more about their roles before deciding if you want to do an MBA or CFA, whatever it is, right? Many undergrads start networking when the time comes, and then they think that they've developed a passion in investment banking because they liked few finance subjects in university. I personally believe you cannot be passionate about something unless you have had practical exposure to it, right? So, my advice would be do early internships, even if it's for free, right? Do early internships in as many core finance roles as possible to get that clarity. Participate in seminars and conferences and competitions. That's the easiest way to meet professionals and seek guidance. I would also strongly recommend young finance undergrads to subscribe to Wall Street Oasis. It's a one-stop shop resource for finance. And believe me when I say it, clarity is everything, right? So there are just so many sources out there. Use LinkedIn, Wall Street Oasis, Mergers and Acquisitions, CFA community. Use all these sources to figure out the step one for breaking into any finance role. And then lastly, and most importantly, I would say build a long-term goal. What I mean is don't get comfortable with your paycheck and job. Trust me when I say this, anyone can be easily replaced, right? A sudden situation like COVID can take away everything from you in one single second. I know everyone says this, but it's just so important to digest what I'm saying. Keep self-investing, build your network correctly, don't get distracted. What I always do is I write down my daily goals. I try to focus more on the process based on what I aspire to become. I do know it's a tough road ahead. And that's exactly why I don't focus on the outcome. So instead of procrastinating, I try and learn from my mistakes. I celebrate my small wins. I just reflect how much I've achieved. And I always have a backup plan. I always have a plan B to make my plan A work. And so honestly, Binod, progress in any form excites me. And that's how I define success. To me, success is progress in any form.
So see, firstly, I would say clarity is power. I mean, getting clarity on what you want. But now this is again easier said than done. You might not have the clarity.
Your voice froze for about 15 seconds there again. Okay. So you need to repeat your section. Hold on. So again, I've already asked the question. You start again from clarity is power. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And speak slowly and loudly and clearly. There's no hurry. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah. So firstly, I would say clarity is power. I mean, getting clarity on what you want to do, and more importantly, why you want to do it, right? So if you know these two things, then sooner or later, I believe that you can get what you want. So now, again, this is easier said than done. Okay, so you might not have clarity on day one, but if you keep looking for it, then eventually you will get it in 2 to 4 years if you're lucky. So second tip would be, I would say intelligence is overrated and persistence is underrated. So, I mean, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but of course you can try to be the grittiest. And so there is this quote by Denzel Washington that if you hang around the barber shop long enough, sooner or later you are gonna get a haircut. So third tip would be networking is more important than your degree. Okay, so I mean, even if you are the smartest person in the room, but you can't go far unless 100 people know you and you know them, right? But having said that, networking should be done with the intent to give and it will come back to you in unexpected way. So I think that 3 tips sums up.
So number one is read, read, and read. So there's no shortcut there. You've got to read all the amazing books out there, and there are plenty depending on what are your interests. So if you're interested in something and you want to excel, there are no shortcuts. You've got to read those books. There's a wealth of information, wealth of knowledge out there that's so easily, it's so well documented, it's right there for you. So I think number one is to read, read, and read. And number two would be to like, so if you have role models, it's so easy to access them now in, in this day and age. YouTube is there for everyone, it's for free. So if you want to say, if you're inspired by Warren Buffett, you can any day go and look him up on YouTube, listen to his talks, listen to his most recent talks. So for instance, if you're someone who's looking for tips on, say, financial markets, you look it up, look him up, look up your, heroes, and just go ahead, listen to them. So having those greats, having those professionals so accessible to us is a blessing, and it's free of cost. What could be better? So go ahead, listen to them. And third, I would say, is for all those young guys and girls there, go and intern. So if you are wondering what it means to be, say, a data scientist, stop wondering, start acting. Go there, take up an internship, learn it. If you're wondering what it means to be an analyst, apply to all these positions globally. Everyone today is working virtually. So, say you're in India and you want to work with someone in the US, it's possible today. Go and apply there to any firm you want to. Go to all these websites, use LinkedIn, use AngelList, go and apply, talk to people, and get that internship. Know what it is to be a data scientist, know what it is to be an equity researcher, and then take a call. We did not have this option when we were their age, but that's the opportunity you have, and make the most of it. So I think being aware of that opportunity is important, and then making the most of it is equally important. So I think those are my top 3 tips.
And I'll just add 3 additional things here for our listeners. The first thing is, I was just speaking about change. So be prepared for a lot of change and be prepared to embrace it and to run with it. Be adaptable, agile, be curious, ask a lot of questions, contribute. This is what every employer would look for. The second thing is be digitally savvy. And if you don't have an MBA, at least you have to be a master of Zoom, because without that, you won't succeed nowadays, right? We are all on some digital means. Even now, together we speak on Zoom. So you have to know all the gadgets and apps that will help your life and help your working life and make things better for you, easier for you, increase your productivity. And the third one is, again, you have to master your ability to connect with people, work with people, not only in person, but also digitally. This is very important. And all this, obviously, with a positive attitude and giving 110% at your work. Not an easy task.
So look, these are just very, very basic things. One, read everything. Okay. So no matter what you decide to do, this will help you. And I have over 700 books at home, and I'm making sure my daughter also gets into this habit as well. I think a major problem with people these days is that, we're so used to scrolling and skimming over information that we forget to read what's actually there. right? But trust me, reading will give you an edge over everyone else. 2, I'd say don't take shortcuts, right? So sometimes all we want to do is get to the top. And in our zeal, we'll do anything to reach there. But honestly, the journey is often just as important as the destination. And what you learn along the way will make you better when you eventually reach the top. 3, I would say, own your mistakes and don't make excuses, right? The people that you're dealing with likely have years of experience and they will see right through you. So don't make excuses, don't lie, be a straight shooter, just find a way to fix the situation. And finally, I'd say be humble in your learning process, because who better to teach you than the guy who's already on the ground? Don't ever think that you're too high and mighty just because you have a fancy degree or a fancy qualification. There is never any substitute for experience. So be ready to learn from anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Well, I'll give this a go. You did forewarn me about this question, so I did have to think about it. I hate these sort of 3 top tip things, but the first thing is to say, I think, to everybody, go back to the thing that I said at the start, that it's a long race. And it's not where you start that counts, it's where you finish. That's what's most important. And, so it's getting your first foot upon the ladder that's important in the business, hopefully, that you want to be in. Don't worry so much if you can't get into, if you want to be at the front of the asset management process. Don't worry if you can't get there to start with. Get into an asset management business at whatever level, in whatever capacity, if it's in the middle or the back office, and work your way forward to the front office. It's a long old race. You've got lots to learn. You'll be better in the front office if you have gone through the back office. So try and remember that it's not where you start in life that's important, it's where you finish. So I think that's the first thing that I would say. I certainly did that. I started as an accountant, went into an asset management company in the back office, and worked my way forward from the back office to the front office. So it's perfectly possible. It's still possible. You can do it if you navigate the organizations that you're in successfully. Secondly, I think we've mentioned it many, many times during this podcast, never be afraid of change or uncertainty. And in the asset management world, it's not about being afraid of change and uncertainty. It's about embracing change and uncertainty. That's what depresses me more than anything else when I think about the asset management industry, is we seem to have forgotten that change and uncertainty is where we live. That's where the opportunity is. That's the good stuff. The more uncertainty there is out there, the more change there is out there, the more alpha we can generate. So we want to actively, as asset managers, go to places, countries, or industries where reporting is poor, where people have, 10 different views as to how something might work out. That's where we live. If you know everything, if you know what the future looks like, you're never going to make an investment return that's above the rate of cash. So always be in your mindset, if you want to be a good asset manager, always in your mindset, embrace change and embrace uncertainty. And that's obviously a lesson for life as well. These are good things. These are dynamics that propel humankind forward, and you want to be on the right side of them. You want to be challenging yourself to take advantage of change and uncertainty at all times, professionally and personally. The final thing, which connects back to my wanderlust, if you like, is go see for yourself. I think the modern world is set up in a way that we believe that we can, and obviously COVID has contributed to this as well, we believe we can do everything sitting behind a screen. And the types of technical people, as we talked earlier, that we've sucked into the investment management industry are disposed towards that view anyway, that they can see everything that they need to see on a Bloomberg screen or on a YouTube video or some other streaming service. But it's not true, because you're seeing a filtered view of life. You're seeing only what people want you to see. You're not necessarily seeing the whole picture. And the one thing that I can absolutely assure you of is that when you go and visit a company, or when you go and visit a country, your view of that company or country will be radically different to the one that you have come to through your desktop research. There is no substitute for going to see for yourself. So those are my 3 tips. It's not where you start, it's where you finish that counts. Get in and work your ticket. Never be afraid of change and uncertainty. Those are your opportunities, and go see for yourself.
Actually, I'm very happy to share the key things which I have learned from my journey so far, and which have helped me somewhere throughout. So, the very first one which comes to my mind and which I have actually applied somewhere is, you have to be determined, you and focused. I personally believe that if your level of determination somewhere outweighs your hard work, as in 49% of hard work maybe, and which is followed by 51% of determination. So this combination, sometimes this combination of your sheer determination could open doors and it can lead you towards your goal. I have personally experienced this in several ways, but when I say that, you have to be very cautious, because it only works when there is a marginal difference between the two, which is hard work and determination. And so you will have to be very mindful by whenever you are leveraging this formula, I would say. So the another thing which I have learned being part of the corporate culture, which comes to my mind quickly, is you know don't put all your eggs in one basket. I know that someone had said it in context of investments, but the same applies to almost everything in your life. Not all individuals, all organizations are same, and it's really not fair to treat them same way, right? So you have to be very careful on this note. And just to add further on this one, but maybe in some another context, um, I have also experienced that not all the times you will be able to walk in someone else's shoes. I know you must be wondering that what I mean by that. So for example, if your shoe size is 7, whereas you are trying to wear someone else's shoes which is of maybe size 10, then obviously you are not going to have a good experience, right? And you will end up complaining. So to conclude that point, we should seek lessons from others, but sometimes you will have to sail on your boat by yourself. And this is something which I had learned lately when I was changing my job, and people told me that, Sakshi, don't go for that organization, don't go for this organization, it is not good. So I respect them all because they all were my seniors and friends, and they were trying to help me so that I can make an informed decision. But at the end, I felt that maybe they have made these perceptions based upon their experiences, or maybe per hearsay. So rather, in such cases, my personal opinion is to inquire more details, like, okay, if you say this company is not good, then which company, which department, which process, or the team or the managers of it you didn't like, and what are the possible reasons that made you not liking them. So understand on those grounds and then make a call, is what I would like to say. So apart from that, moving on, the another thing which comes to my mind is, you know being open to the new challenges is one of the key learnings I had in my journey. We all are placed in a fast paced dynamic business environment, and we need to be open to anything which is coming up on our way. This was this was one of the another blunder that I had made at first, because right, I had told you in the beginning that how I was scared when I was being put up in an IT team. So I was scared. It made me scared. To be scared, I was not, to be honest, I was not scared because the challenge scared me. But or I didn't wanted to undergo any change. But I was afraid to fail and make mistakes. But it is with the time I realized that you grow and learn only when you take on more challenges and make mistakes. So that's the key thing. So be open to challenges every time. It will help you in the long run. Yeah. uh, Another, there are so many things I would like to share, but I will stick on to only few, keeping the time in the mind. So the moving on to the next, which I can remember is, you know, I know, I think most of people must have heard about it and know its significance already. So I'll just keep it very short and clear, that creating your network and building relationships, being both interpersonal and professional, is necessary, as it is something that will help you when you need someone and someone needs you. So it works both the ways. So it's very important to create your network.
Hmm.
And maybe last for today, but not the least and most importantly, is it all starts and comes from you. It is something where self beliefs comes into picture. And it is very important to never ever underestimate yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, there is no reason for anyone else to believe in you. And each of us have our own defined personalities. We have our own traits which makes each one of us different from the rest. So never pull yourself down
Hmm.
mentally, and never never instill those thoughts of self doubt or comparison, and thinking being less than someone else. So stay fearless and never ever go into such directions, I would say.
So, what are the three top lessons, briefly, that you learned in life and career, and how did that happen?
So I link this to a bit of my running, okay, and when I was running my recent half marathon, yes, and I was at about start right at the 6th kilometer. I was running and I happened to see this group of runners who were led by this one with a flag. I didn't know what that flag meant, but then I looked at those runners. This is while I'm running. I looked; they were all visually challenged, and they were all running in the night.
Wow. Okay.
And that moment, I realized that what am I complaining about? If they can, I can. I have a pair of legs. They do. You just have to get there and start running, right? So this is what I learned, that you can't complain about anything. You have a lot more than you think.
So the first lesson is don't complain.
Don't complain.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
And the second lesson that I could say is failure. Okay, I've been a good student from all my school, college levels, again, dean's list and all that, and I've never experienced failing. So obviously, there are two different things, right? Classroom studying in school is different from CFA, but I had never failed. So it was, number one, mentally challenging to deal with it, to embrace it, to accept failure. And obviously, you have to work on it mentally before you actually start executing a new plan. So that was one very important lesson, that it's okay.
I still remember, sorry to interrupt, I still remember the message you sent me after you failed, I think, level 2 or level 3 the first time. I remember this was like 24 hours or 48 hours after the results had come out, when normally people are in a state of shock or disappointment. And you were quite calm about it, and you were saying, you know what, this happens in life, you have to deal with it, and I intend to move on. I was quite impressed even at that point. I think if you remember the exchange, right? And I was thinking, she's quite unique, because people don't normally react to failure. after studying for so long in such an important exam. So second lesson, very important, failure, right? I mean, be resilient.
Absolutely. It teaches you a lot, it teaches you a lot more than just passing, by the way.
Yeah. I always say, failure is delay, is not defeat.
Yes,
it's just delayed your what do you call, final destination, but it's not a full stop. It's a comma.
Absolutely.
And what else?
So the same thing, again, dealing with rejections, right? So my work also involves a lot of it. So, I can understand that. What is important in your career as well? Like, you have to be out of comfort zone. So, hungry. You have to be hungry for new things, new challenges, new opportunities. There are people we come across in our daily lives who are at that position for years or in that role for years. You wonder, are they settled or are they comfortable?
Yeah,
right?
Same thing. Yeah. So I really wonder, people are there for like 25 years in the same position.
Absolutely.
No promotions, same job, same company. And I think, holy crap.
It limits your ability to think of new things. And I think being hungry for whether be it career or be it personal life just teaches you new things. You just pick up new things in life. And I think this is what my entire CFA running journey has been about. New things.
So number one, ask. Always ask, right? Never be afraid to ask. Like, what's the worst that can happen? The person can say no, right?
True.
But what's the alternative? Somebody could say yes, and that could be a big step in, like, achieving your dream or your goal as well. So always ask.
Right.
It's very critical.
Right.
Okay. Second aspect would be just to be very curious. Okay, never give up. Never restrict yourself to a particular role, to a particular job, to a particular business functions. Go beyond. So for example, if you are working in a business division X, figure out the upstream and downstream kind of impact of your job profile.
Right.
So once you do that, you will be so much better educated. It will also allow you to figure out what your next move is, what all you can achieve, what are the things that you might be lacking, and thereby acquire some of the skills and attributes. So be curious, right? Third thing, make your own decisions, right? It's be open to advice from everyone. Okay, so reach out, never ignore advice. Okay, take every advice from anyone that's out there, but make your own decisions.
Yeah, the final decision is yours.
Final decision has to be yours. Sometimes it will work out, and sometimes it will not work out, and that happens to all of us, right? But it's my decision, and I would enjoy the success of it, and if it is failure, I learn from it and make sure I don't make it again. But,
exactly.
But make your decisions.
Correct.
Always ask, be curious, and always make your own decisions.
The very first lesson which I have learned which is very important, is never stop learning, not to become stagnant. And your life is past mistakes happens, regrets happens, that's okay. But one should keep on improving themselves, There is never ending improvement, you can see. Second thing I believe is be more humble, be more open, be more flexible. Either at some point of time you'll be burned or buried. So ultimately, one should be more, one should allow himself or herself to be more acceptable, more open, and connect easily with others, because you got only one life. And lastly, I believe one should take calculated risk. I'm not saying say berserk risk. It should be calculated, because ultimately we have also done CFA and everything, so you can relate. So when it comes to finance, it's not like berserkly you're taking a risk. It has to be always calculated risk that takes you to somewhere which is much better and new. In terms of what I'm trying to say is that, sometimes there are people who might not be supporting or might not believe in yourself, but that's okay. Listen to your heart and mind, and whatever you want to do in life, you should do it. But it should be done within the what do you call, while keeping in mind the calculated risk and everything. Ultimately, there is a saying that, there is no gain without pain. So one should also focus on that. So these are the 3 lessons which I have learned so far.
Say set clear targets with clear timelines and write them down. And then when you identify them, write the tools that you need, write the skills and the steps you need to make to achieve them. Believe me, it makes all the difference. And I always urge people to be who they are. Be yourself. I always tell the guys, if you remove the time you sleep in your life, you spend almost 70% of your time awake in your work. So if you're not yourself and you're not like what you do, and you don't have the passion of what you do, and you're not being yourself, it's a horrible life to live. So be yourself. Be consistent with that. Don't change yourself according to a job or for anyone. Just be yourself. Be consistent with yourself. So setting your goals, being yourself, and I would say always be passionate about what you do, what you like, do what you're passionate about. Don't be driven by money, or don't be driven by monetary base, because I think that doing what you like, being passionate about. I know it's said in a very vast way. Everyone is passionate apparently about what they do. But I think if you do that out of passion, you'll be happy, and happiness is the ultimate target of what we do. You want to be happy.
The first one definitely is the passion. I know that a lot of people are saying that, but it's really true. You need to be passionate about what you are doing to keep the motivation high and the commitment high, and also to help you drive people around you if you are a team leader or manager.
So I'm going to jump in here. Sorry to interrupt, but how do you know what you're passionate about when you're young, when you're in your 20s, like most listeners of this podcast? You're a fresh graduate, first job. How do you figure out what really drives you? How did you figure out?
You experiment things. I think it's critical. Like very few people know exactly what they want to do at 20 years old.
Exactly.
So you need to experiment different kind of things and see which one is like really exciting you and making you feel that, okay, this is what I want to do. And maybe along the way, as it was for me, I was very excited about the building engineering path. But at the end, I realized that no, this is not for me. I wanted something a little bit more fast-paced. So don't be scared to experiment things. This is the best way for you to fine-tune your preferences and to find your passion, actually. And you can have several passions. You are not limited to one, actually. So as I said, I am in AI and machine learning, but I absolutely love also the alternative food options and the whole subject about intolerances and allergies. I'm having several passions driving me. You need something to keep your motivation and your drive and your ambition as well.
So what was the passion? What else? What other lessons would you say about career and life?
Okay, curiosity is definitely very important.
Be curious,
Be curious. Be curious. Try to learn as much as possible. This will help you to always improve your skill and keep yourself motivated. Like try to explore different things and to understand the why of these things to keep yourself going. And the final lesson, it's to be grateful as well of what you have already in life, in your career, but keep yourself focused and determined to explore every other option that could make your life better and happier.
The podcast is brought to you by The Real Finance Mentor. Thank you so much for listening. And I really hope you found it insightful and inspirational. If you did enjoy this episode, please drop us a review and spread the word. And be sure to check out more exclusive content on therealfinancementor.com and my LinkedIn profile, which is Binod Shankar CFA. Let's keep in touch. Just add your name to the mailing list on therealfinancementor.com and we'll tell you about new episodes, plus book reviews, upcoming events, and blogs. Till the next time, onwards and upwards.